So it's 9:30 p.m. UK time. Welcome everyone. So we are live from London. If it's not Friday the 15th of December, 9:30 p.m. UK time, that means you're watching a replay. I find that some people are still a bit confused sometimes on whether they're watching live or replay. So today it's the 15th of December, and welcome Nathalie. So if anyone was completely new to me, you're very welcome, and welcome Mitzi. So for the ones that don't know me, I'm Nathalie, and tonight we'll have a live walk in London, looking at the beautiful Christmas lights. I am before, and Susan is here. Cool. So let's turn this camera around, and let's go. We've got a lovely little frame here if you wanted to come and pose for your Christmas photos. So I'm actually in Mayfair. So that's why I said I'm in the posh side of town. We are by the famous hotel, the Corner Hotel, and this is the Mayfair Christmas tree. Today we'll see about at least 4 amazing Christmas trees. So this is our first one, and under the trees there, that's actually a fontaine. When it goes on, you have a lot of smoke coming out. But I never know, it went on about 10 minutes ago, but I don't think it's actually a special schedule. I think it's the butler. I think he's got a remote control and he can press it. Because some of you might remember last time I did a tour here, a Monopoly tour, I was talking about the fontaine and suddenly it went on, and I think it was the butler. Was it really a year since Christmas? Well, I'm pretty sure it is, yeah. Yeah. So we've got those lovely little nods up there. So we're heading towards Berkeley Square. So Mayfair, it is named after the fair they used to have in May, as the name says. And Linda is asking, are those apartments above the street floor? They look gorgeous. Yes, oh yes, those are very fancy apartments costing millions. Yeah, blame the butler. Well, I think they probably actually called concierge here because it's a bit posher. And so yeah, the Mayfair was an amazing party, an amazing fair that would have been quite interesting in terms of activities. They were doing wife selling. Yes, you've heard this right. They were doing wife selling. They were doing ladies foot running. I would be curious to see what that is. But I think you'd have to remember that at the time, in the 17th centuries, ladies were not wearing things that were extremely comfortable. So to be able to run, they would have to strip down a little bit. So I think that's why it was so titillating. And they were also doing puppets executions. Yes, you've heard this right. They were doing puppet shows, and often when it was the end of the show, they would behead the puppet. And it was a game. I mean, whoever could catch the head was a winner. So interesting place. And we are here because there's a nightclub that I said, you might remember, we did come here. Oh, actually, let me try something. We did come here 4 months ago when we did Monopoly tour. We did Mayfair, and you can see the video there. It's not gonna work now, but in about 24 hours, I should be able to put a link up there. So I wanna try. I've not tried that on YouTube yet. Anyway, so yeah, we've been here doing a Monopoly tour a few weeks ago, a month ago now. Do you remember which nightclub has the best decorations? We've mentioned it before. And here we've got a dinosaur. Yes, exactly, Tish, Annabelle's. So we're going to see Annabelle's. Don't ask me why there's a dinosaur, because I have no clue. There's a QR code, but my phone refused to scan it. And nowadays it's all about QR codes. So if you don't have a phone, you don't have any information. So I don't know why there's a new dinosaur in Mayfair. I'll have to Google it, I suppose, but it's quite annoying. They could at least put a little plaque or a little sentence for people that do not have a telephone, or that have no battery, or that their phone refused to scan for any reason. Your barber was talking about Annabelle. Oh, cool. Well, I'll show you the decorations. They're always amazing at Annabelle's. So for the ones that don't know, Annabelle's is a very exclusive nightclub. It used to be 2 doors down. It used to be at the Claremont Club. By the way, the building to my right here, at the beginning of the century, there were some offices that belonged to the, what was it called? OSS? Yeah, OSS, Office of Strategic what? Well, I don't know, but the forerunner of the CIA. And so the Claremont was just here, and Annabelle has moved 2 doors down. It's a very fancy club. I've never been, but you'd have to, it's for high society, you know. And the dress code is quite strict. Actually so strict that one day in the 80s, it was at the time of Prince Andrew's bachelor party, there are 2 ladies that came in. Well, there were 4, but 2 of them were dressed as police officers. They were turned down because you don't dress up at Annabelle's. I mean, you dress up, but you don't, you know, you don't come dressed up as a police officer. So they were turned down. Hi, Kurt. Hi, Catherine. And would you believe that was actually Sarah Ferguson and Lady Diana? So of course they were ever so sorry, but yeah, they've turned them down. They didn't recognize them. Hi, Stephanie. So there we go. I don't know whether they've spoken to Cartier, because we'll see in a moment. We'll go to Cartier as well. They also have a air balloon as a deco. Hi, Pauline. Hi, Ronnie. Welcome to see. Nice to see everyone. So yeah, quite impressive deco, and they always do. Annabelle's, they've got amazing deco for Easter, for Halloween, so it's not unusual. And a few doors down, that's 50 Berkeley Square. That is the most haunted house in London. Some of you might have heard about that ghost story. I'm not going to tell you the full story because I already told you when we came here for the Monopoly Mayfair. But you'd have to remember that in Victorian times, most people believed in ghosts. So for the journalist, it was actually quite important to investigate those ghost stories because they sold a lot of newspaper. And would you believe, on Christmas night, it was a tradition, especially in the 1700s, they used to read ghost stories. Today, I mean, we don't really do that anymore today. And back in the days, really, some of the traditions for Christmas and Halloween were a bit mixed. You know, at the time of the Tudor, through those 12 nights of Christmas, they used to dress up on a very scary costume and knock at people's door. They had to stop because there were a lot of robberies. But that's actually quite similar to what we do at Halloween now. And they used to indeed read those ghost stories. A lot of the newspaper tried to pretend that they were local stories, and there were many. Those Victorians, they not only did they believe in ghosts, but I don't want to say that ghosts don't exist. I didn't say that. I would lose most of my followers. But it was a little bit easier to... happy birthday, Trish. You'd have to remember that when we used to be reading books with a candle, or when we were at home with only the light of the fireplace, the fire as a light, it moves. So, you know, the shades, the shadow, all of that moves. So it's a little bit easier to see or to believe you've seen something than today with our electric lights, and you know. So that's one of the many reasons why those Victorians were full of ghost stories. And also, you know, they Oh, you hate Halloween, Nick. You'd have to remember that, you know, at the end of the 19th century, they had just invented the telephones. You could speak to somebody in Scotland. Why not speak to the dead, you know? It's not that far, you know. So yeah, they were full of interesting ghost stories. And if you know the song, you know, the most wonderful time of the year. Sadly, on YouTube, I can't play any music anymore. But you know, there's a line at some point. He said, "Let me cross over." He said, "Scary ghost story." You know, because at the time there were a lot of ghost stories on Christmas Eve. Right. Let me show you this spot here, because it's an interesting spot. Right here after the car dealer, there's a little girl in 1926 that was born here. You may or may not have heard of her. Her name was Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor. She was born here. So we're talking about Queen Elizabeth II. There's a portrait of her here. We've seen that one before. We've seen it in a shop in Mayfair. I don't know if they've sold it or if it's the same. Oh yeah, yes. She was born. A maternal grandparents, the Earl of Strathmore, they lived here. Cool. Anyway, let's go down to see more light on Bond Street. You miss her? Yeah, I think we all do. Yeah, it's been literally the end of an era, and yeah. Will you have a Christmas ghost story? Sarah, no. You won't have any ghost story, but you'd have some creepy stories anyway. So don't worry. You'll have a creepy Christmas. Yes, the Irish brought the tradition of Halloween, and it was mixed with the Christmas. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Christmas really, it is a pagan party as well as a Christian one. And at the end of the tour, I'll tell you a bit more about Santa as well, and why I believe that Santa Claus might have been a drug dealer. Yes, you've heard this right. But we'll talk about Santa a little bit later. For now, oh, look at this beautiful pub. It was so busy earlier, and now it's nice and chilled. So yeah, we've got quite a few Christmas tradition. I'll tell you as well the ones that are a little bit different in France. Sadly, with globalization, Christmas has started to look exactly the same everywhere, but we still have a little bit, a few differences. Hi, Michelle, nice to see you here. It's funny, earlier that screen was a different one. It was bubbles, a bubble man walking. Now it's a ferryman. Interesting. So yeah, the Christmas traditions now, they're getting mixed up. You know, it's starting to be the same everywhere. Like, for example, when I left France, we would never wear a Christmas jumper in France. We found it ridiculous. You know, no one would wear such thing. And I went to France 2 years ago in December, not for Christmas, but early December. And a lot of people were wearing Christmas jumpers, and I was like, "What's happening?" So it's getting to be the same everywhere. That's a cool one. His eyes are moving. Did you see? His eyes are looking around. So let me show you those famous crowd. So this is a crown, and this is actually fairly new. It's the second year we have them. Yeah, it's my fans honking in the back. So we are on Bond Street. Well, this is actually New Bond Street. Bond Street doesn't exist. It's all Bond Street on New Bond Street. And before the Jubilee, they had decided already of the Christmas decoration. So that was meant to be for the Queen's Jubilee. But then, because of her passing, they had decided to, of course, keep it because it would still be a good team, and they've repeated it this year. It's probably going to be here for a few years because before that we had the Peacocks, and the Peacocks, they were on for years as well. Did it hit the skaters? Oh yes, probably is. Yeah, in the window. I thought you were talking about those cars. I was like, no, I didn't see any of that. Yes, probably. Right. So we're heading towards some of the Ralph Lauren, Cartier, some of those very fancy shops, and they have their own decoration. So you've got the decorations organized by the council, as well as the one organized by each individual shop. And we'll see a little jeweler there, Graf, sorry. It's the place where they had the second largest robbery in the UK. That was in 2009, and it's well, I don't want to say well done, because really it is a crime, and although no one was killed, some people might have been traumatized. But basically, two men, young men, early 20s, came into the shop on a summer day. Their faces were exposed. They didn't mind being on CCTV or anything. And we've got Churchill and Roosevelt here. It's called The Allies. That was gifted by the local businesses to Westminster, so they paid for it. Did they get the jewels back? No, Elizabeth. So let me get there. So basically, those two men got in the shop. One of them was wearing white gloves, which seemed a bit odd, but people here have so much money, they can be a little bit extravagant, and some of them might be wearing fancy gloves in August. And they asked the sales assistant to show them a ring in the window. Then they got off their guns and they got 43 items. We're talking about 40 millions. They ran into a first car. Then they had an accomplice. His name was Thomas. His parents must have been hating him. Why would you call your fist Thomas if your last name is Thomas? So Thomas, he had rented a van, and he actually blocked the street. So the police only got there with great difficulty. And eventually the robbers jumped into a second car and a third car. They had a little accident with a taxi, and they were off. They made a big mistake, though. After the little accident with the taxi, one of them dropped their phone, a burner phone, into one of the cars. The police found the phone, and there were a lot of contacts in the phone. So that's how they traced everyone. They all were arrested. Most of them lived at their parents'. When they arrested Thomas, he climbed up a tree in his back garden, and the police was there. That's it now, you can come down. And the other one, I think his name was Kayani, he was telling the police, you don't need to do this, no one was hurt, which is true, no one was killed, but we never know. The shop assistant, she could suffer from PTSD or whatever. Anyway, so this is the famous jeweler. And you know what? So they took about 40 millions. What's the Piper sound? I'm not sure where it's coming from, Mike. I don't know. They had already had a robbery in 2006. So some people claimed it was an inside job. Probably not, because they didn't even get much from the insurance. They got about half of the value from the insurance. So I doubt they would have done that on purpose, but who knows? Anyway, so this is Cartier. They change the deco every year, and this year they've chosen a balloon as a theme, like Annabelle's. So that's interesting. I don't know if they talked about it or if it's just a coincidence, but beautiful deco. I'll just step back to give you a lovely view. There you go. And this beautiful tree here, it is organized by Ralph Lauren, and it is a charity tree. So you can buy yourself a little star. If you make a donation to the Royal Marsden Hospital, it's a cancer charity. We spoke about William Marsden before in my tours. If you make a donation over 15 quid, you can get a little star with your name. And behind me there's a statue of a very naked man. Let me give you a shot like this with the statue. Cool. And you know what? Let's go straight down, because if we are by Fortnum and Mason in 10 minutes, we might see the little characters coming out. So let's run. Oh, there might be another robbery. There's an alarm on. Is it a jeweler? No, I think that's Tiffany's. Well, it's not me. I have not done anything. That's the Royal Arcades across the street as well. Let's cross over, why not? Beautiful. And this part of the street, so this is now Old Bond Street. This part of the street was the first one-way street in London. Tum-tum again, yes. Because the Royal Institution used to be here. So that's those scientists, you know, like Michael Faraday, and they used to do lectures. They used to do Christmas lectures, actually, for the kids. And sometimes... it's trying to reconnect, okay. Okay, I think it might have reconnected. I don't think there's much I can do. Let's just give it a minute, see. Oh, is it good? Good. Can you hear me properly? Well, perfect timing, because we're back right on time to see Fortnum and Mason. Yeah, amazing, perfect. We've lost a lot of people. Hopefully they'll come back. You can hear me, okay. Good. I think it could just have been because it was a bit busy down there. You know, sometimes it gets very busy, so that could affect the signal. Perfect. So we are in front of the beautiful Fortnum and Mason, the shop, and it is lit up, and that's a calendar, like how do you call them? An advent calendar. You know what? I only realized 2 years ago. It's been like this for years at Christmas time. I just didn't realize it was a calendar until 2 years ago, when someone in the little clock, and on the hour. So I always try to be 5 minutes early, because it's not always on time. But on the hour, the little characters Fortnum and Mason should come out. I say should because it doesn't always work. But because it's Christmas time and they have so many witnesses and people coming to see their fancy items, they have a long royal connection. They've been created in 1707 under the reign of Queen Anne. William Fortnum, he worked as some kind of a valet for the Queen. And at the time, Queen Anne, she used to... every time they had a dinner or any lunch or anything that required a candle, they would start a new candle. They did not want to have a dinner with a candle. William Fortnum had an idea. He decided to ask Queen Anne if he could maybe sell those candles, those half-burn candles. And Queen Anne said yes. Queen Anne, she's my favorite. Oh, thank you so much, Elizabeth. She had 19 pregnancies and no babies that survived. And she may, I don't like to speculate too much about the sex lives of our monarchs of the past, but she might have had an affair with ladies, Sarah Churchill, for example. So she might have had some lesbian relationships. We know, or we think we know, because we've got the letters. So yeah. And anyway, Queen Anne said yes. sell the candles, do whatever you'd like to do. And Fortnum, yes, it's working. I'm gonna zoom in a little, let's see. So Fortnum decided to sell those candles and he made a fortune. So the characters are about to come out. Fortnum would be on the right and Mason on the left. No, other way around. So Fortnum made a fortune with those candles, and he then asked his friend and landlord, Hugh Mason, to go into business together. So that's how they opened the shop, and that's why the shop has such a long, here they come, that's why the shop has such a long royal connection. So they'll salute each other. Can you see the two little characters coming out? Cool, and they'll go back in. Where, Dorley? Just in the middle, right in the middle of the screen now. They've just gone back in now. Right, let me zoom out before I forget. Cool. So yeah, the shop is well known for its Christmas hampers. So for the ones that don't know, because Christmas hampers are not international. It's a hamper is some kind of a Christmas basket with a lot of whatever it might be, you know, pâtés or product, and that's something you can get for Christmas to your friends, families, and loved ones. Let's go and have a little look at the Christmas display. They always have amazing displays, and this year it's moving. Oh, now there's music. I don't like music because of copyright reasons. But you know what? I'm not gonna stress about it, because in Sicily I did a tour with a lot of music everywhere, and I did not have any copyright claims, which is it's amazing. I'm amazed. So yeah, sorry. That one is quite cool. So yeah, I actually preferred the one from last year, but that's cool as well. Because last year it wasn't moving. They were really good, but not moving. And here you've got Fortnum and Mason at the top. So I'm guessing Fortnum is on the left and on Mason on the right, but it's hard to tell. So the shop is responsible for quite a few culinary inventions, including the Scotch eggs. So the Scotch eggs, for the ones that don't know, it's an egg with some kind of like a sausage meat surrounded it with breadcrumbs. So that was invented here by the creators at the shop. Right. Let's go down towards Piccadilly. Oops, sorry. Right, so let's talk about Christmas traditions. There are a lot of Christmas traditions that we just take for granted, you know, and we don't even really question them. One of them, it's the Christmas stocking. Do you guys know why on earth do we everywhere at Christmas time? Do we know where that comes from? Because it's such an odd idea. Why would you get some red socks everywhere, put them by the fireplace or sell them with candies inside, or where do they come from? By the way, everything I'm about to tell you is debatable. With Christmas history, a lot of historians are debating stuff and some of them don't agree. But the Christmas stocking, well, the main story, they would tell you it's about St. Nicholas, that poor people didn't have any boxes or anything, so one day they woke up with some gold coins in their socks. But there's another, oh, you just lost sound, okay. Left for the elves, yeah. Well, you know what? It's actually quite a funny story. When in the European France has shoes instead of, yes. Well, I'll tell you why. It's often shoes or socks, because you'd have to remember that the chimney was basically an entrance into your home that was not guarded. That was literally a way in that you couldn't lock. And they've always been scared of people entering their homes through their chimneys, people or spirits or whatever it might be. And in Serbia, on Greece, apparently they had those little mystical goblins that would, nasty ones, you know, that would enter through the chimney. And to push them away, they thought it'll be a good idea to have some smelly things. So they used to burn a Yule log, and they would put smelly shoes and smelly socks to push away those bad spirits that might try to enter through the chimney. So they basically wanted those smelly socks. Sometimes they would even burn those smelly shoes. So that was basically to push those goblins away. And then it's been the story evaluated again with St. Nicholas. But yeah, so that's an interesting one. Anyway, we start to have those beautiful angels. So we are arriving. Yes, we are by the Dili fancy hotel. If you want an apple, a free apple, you can go into the Dili. I often go in there to wait for my customers when I do private tours. And at the Dili, they always have water with little cucumber inside, or apples. So you can always just get in there. I'm gonna get banned if I say that on YouTube, because everyone is gonna go into the Dili. Anyway, let's go quickly on Regent Street. No, this is Regent Street. We are not going to Carnaby Street today. Around Christmas light, probably next Friday. So this is the beautiful Regent Street, named of course after the Prince Regent. The Prince Regent, it's actually his dad. I think I've missed something in the chat. I don't know why we're talking about Aaron Kosminski. The regent, he took over the job of the king because his dad, George III, he developed some strong mental health issues. So the prince became the Prince Regent, and with his favorite architect, John Nash, he redesigned all Regent Street. At the time, the street had some kind of canopies, like shelters, but the problem with public shelters, it's always the same. It's that it attracts the wrong type of crowd. You'd get a lot of pickpockets, you'd get a lot of sex workers, especially when it's raining, because it gets very busy. So eventually they had to remove those canopies. And of course, this is the famous advertising screens of Piccadilly. Some of the most expensive adverts in London. About Jack the Ripper, if you don't mind, Red Cloud, I'll talk about. By the way, it is named after Piccadilles. The Piccadilles, they wear those lovely neck collars that that people used to wear. And there was a gentleman called Roger Baker that as it became Piccadilly. On circus, well, because it used to be a roundabout, like circus in Latin. It's no longer a roundabout today. And in the middle, you've got the what a lot of people call the Eros fountain. It's not actually Eros; it's Anteros. Is his brother, and he's inspired the logo for the Evening Standard. So you might shaky. Oh, I thought you meant the video. Cool. So we'll is it green? Yes. Oops. It's very busy around here. Oops. Okay, so we'll head down this way with some more beautiful angels, and one other Christmas tradition that you might have heard of. It's international. It's not. Oh crap! I think it's just because it's very busy. I'm gonna walk straight down and I'm gonna try not to say anything interesting, okay? You tell me in the chat. You know what? I might even cross the street. It might be a little bit quieter on the other side. You tell me in the chat when it gets better, okay? No worries, red cloud. Oh, is it fine now? Can you all hear me? Okay, perfect. Good, good. So, the Christmas cards and the Christmas crackers, actually, both of them are very British. We don't really have that on the continent. Or at least not in France. I cannot speak for all Europe. But let me find. I'm just gonna find a flat surface because when I show you a Christmas cracker, but I need to find a flat surface for the gimbal. So for the ones that don't know, the Christmas crackers, they have been inspired actually from the French bonbon. You stopped spending cards 6 years ago. Why did you stop, Linda? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna stop here. So the French bonbon, there used to be those little. There we go. There used to be those little almond, sugar-coated almond that they sold in Paris, and Tom Smith, he had his brother. Thank you, HDP. His brother worked into magic, stage magic, and he looked at those bonbons in France, and he wanted to do the same here. So he created those little bonbons, but he realized that was not enough. The story goes, it's been a bit exaggerated, but the story goes that one day he was looking at his fireplace and he heard the crackle, of the fire, and he was like, yes, that's what we need. So he had the idea of putting a little bit of explosive, literally, a tiny little bit, but like a little bang inside. And he called them bangs of expectations. This one is actually a fake. I think there's no bang inside, but I'll show you how it works. You meant to, put them on a table at Christmas dinner, and with your friend or your loved ones, you meant to pull. Let's do this. You meant to pull, and there's a little string inside. So this one is actually a fake. There's nothing that banged. I didn't know. I bought them in a charity shop, and they didn't bang. And inside you've got a little gift. So I've got a cream. Yeah. Oh, it scared your cat. Oh, it scares your cat in general. Cool. Let me get the crown. Hold on, because it flew away. Up. So whoever has the longest side of the string has a little crown. Let me show you the crown. Oops. The crowns actually, they might have been inspired by the Epiphany cakes that we have in France. I'll show you that on the 6th of January because I'm actually taking you to France if you'd like to join me. And hold on, my fingers are a bit frozen. I will manage. Oops. So you've got the little crown inside. And Tom Smith is still the company, the family still creates. I can't manage, but they still do Christmas crackers today, and they actually still supply the crackers for the royal family. Now, okay, I don't even get it. Usually there's a terrible joke inside. This one says, What do reindeer hang on their Christmas trees? Oh yeah, I do get it, but oh, thank you, Natasha. So do you guys know what do reindeer hang on their Christmas trees? Ornament. Yeah, usually it's a terrible pun. This one is not too bad because actually I get it. Sometimes I don't. Right, anyway, let's go. I'm just gonna pop that in the bin. Right. So that's for the crackers. The Christmas cards, they have been created, well, basically in the 1840s they invented the penny stamp. Let me show you the first. You like it, Herbivore? If that's any consolation, in France we do have those terrible jokes inside the carambar, the sweets. It's a little caramel sweet with terrible jokes inside as well. Anyway, so that's the penny stamp, and suddenly because of those stamps that would cost you a penny, you could send a letter or a card anywhere in the UK for a penny. And that's when a gentleman called Henry Cole, that became Sir Henry Cole, created the Christmas cards. The first one was an illustration of a family, well, of his family, but it just looked like a family, with a little illustration of charity on the side. He sent it to his grandmother, and then he commercialized it, and they became very popular. They became even more popular in the 1860s when they created the half penny stamp. So suddenly it was even cheaper, and the price also evaluated, and it became affordable. But those Victorian cards, they were not exactly the type of cards you'll see today. Let me show you a few examples, because a lot of them were very creepy. Like this. They've just committed murders, and the text is fine. The text is usually quite nice, but the picture's very shocking. Let me show you some more. I've got a full collection. This one is a scary snowman. The snowmen, by the way, they've not always been nice. In Brussels, in the 16th century, they had some kind of a snowman festival, over 120 snowmen all across Brussels, but they were obscene, very obscene snowmen. And when I say obscene, I mean obscene. They were, for example, a representation of a snowman prostitute with a dog between her legs. There were people pooping. There were a drunk swimming in his own vomit. So that's the type of snowman they did in Brussels in the 16th century. So they've not always been nice and childish. did that frog run away with balls? Let me show you another one that I find particularly creepy. Where do you want to send those to? Well, you know what? At the time, people actually kept them, and they placed them on their counter at home. Michi, I'm getting there. I'm getting to the père fouettard. Spoiler alert. We'll talk about Santa and his colleagues in a little while. For now, let me show you. This is actually my favorite Christmas tree in London. I think it's always the best decorated. It's always much brighter than any other. It's not the biggest, but in terms of lights, it's always the best. Anyway, I've got more Christmas cards. I find them amazing. They're so creepy. Here is another one. Merry Christmas. And, oh, this one is not too bad either. The text is always lovely, but it's the picture. It's like the more shocking, the better. And, oh, this one is a bit creepy as well. And another one, very creepy. Yeah. Oh, this one. Well, this one looks a bit like Père Fouettard, but yeah. What is Santa up to? I've got a full collection. I just love them. There's a collection of Christmas cards at the Royal Albert Hall that used to be known as the Kensington Museum. Sir Henry Cole, he became the director of the museum. Why not boil a kid in a teapot, you know? Yes. Linda, I'm getting to Krampus actually. He's a bit like Père Fouettard. Let's finish with those cards first. Right. And that's it. So let me cross over so I can see you all when I talk about Santa. So Santa is a very interesting case. First, we don't know for sure that Santa Claus is indeed Father Christmas. It is very much debatable. Santa Claus, he was born in the after a poem in the 1820s, I think. The first one was actually in the 1840s in a shopping center in Philadelphia. But Father Christmas, that might not be the same man as Saint Nicholas, was more pagan, and he was more like English and pagan. He used to be dressed in purple, not in red. And most people would say that Santa Claus actually comes from Saint Nicholas. Yes, probably, but it doesn't mean that characters might not have been mixed together over the years. So Saint Nicholas used to be famously going to reward the kids that have been good through the year, and he's actually from Turkey, Saint Nicholas. He very probably existed in Turkey. Now, in Turkey, it's warm. Why would he have a sleigh and a reindeer and a coat, and why does he live in the North Pole? We don't know. Now, we're lucky in the UK because we only have Father Christmas. You don't have the Auntie Santa. But as some of you already mentioned in the chat, in France, you have Père Fouettard. Père Fouettard is the Auntie Santa. Père Fouettard, you can literally translate by weeping father. And let me show you some postcards with Père Fouettard. He's creepy. I mean, if you thought earlier was creepy, this is proper creepy. This is Père Fouettard. So if you've been on the naughty list, that's what happens to you. And Père Fouettard would literally kidnap the kids. Let me cross over. Let me show you another one. I'm gonna stop here. There we go. So this is again Père Fouettard. So he's literally taking the kids away. He looks like a PE. I'm not gonna say the rest because you're not allowed to say that on YouTube, but you know what I mean. The legend of Père Fouettard probably came out in the 12th century. There's a story that started in Metz, in the northern east side of France. Apparently, Père Fouettard was a butcher that kidnapped 3 little kids, and he cannibalized them. He basically cut off the meat to do some salted meat, and then Saint Nicholas came to visit. He was offered those amazing chunks of meat, and Saint Nicholas realized what happened. He resurrected the kids, sent them back to their families, and he would have decided to take Père Fouettard with him as an assistant. As a punishment for his crimes, Père Fouettard would have to go around with Saint Nicholas to see the kids, to punish the naughty ones. So again, when I was a kid, we were talking about Père Fouettard. Today we don't really. Today Christmas is pretty much the same everywhere. The kids today, I don't think they're being told about Père Fouettard at all. But Père Fouettard is in France. But in Central Europe, you've got even worse, maybe not worse. You've got Krampus. Let me show you Krampus. He's also the anti-Santa. Where is he? There he is. Yes, that's the Canadian High Commission to my right, absolutely, Suzanne. So this is Krampus. So in part of Austria, maybe Belgium, that's what happens to you if you are on the naughty list. So he's a bit like the Père Fouettard, but he's a mystical animal. So yeah, you're very lucky. But you know what? Père Fouettard actually made it into the United States. In the 1930s, they were Spunky, his name was. But Spunky was not only for Christmas. He only had a wife, but he also went to spank the kids, basically. Poor kids in Europe, yes. Anyway, we are now at Trafalgar Square, so we'll see the amazing tree. So yeah, poor kids. Luckily, we don't really talk about Krampus or Père Fouettard anymore. Today, it's all about Santa. But back to Santa. So the official version is that Santa Claus was inspired by Saint Nicholas. Although there are some and fairly serious historians. I say fairly serious because this theory is a bit bonkers, but there's a researcher in Harvard University, would you believe? His name is Donald H. Priester. Every year he does a lecture about the origin of Santa Claus, and he is actually convinced that Santa was a drug dealer, that he was a Siberian shaman bringing magic mushroom to people. Now I know it sounds wild, but it's not that crazy when you think about it. Those mushrooms, you know, those little the toxic ones, what are they called? Amelina. I never remember what they're called. Amalina. Well, you know the one I mean. Amanita. Those little red ones with the white dot. They are toxic, but they are also very much hallucinogenic. And yes, magic mushroom, but apparently to get the magic, you need to have them digested first by a reindeer, would you believe? And guess where you find those mushrooms? At the foot of trees, like pine trees or evergreen trees. So that's exactly where we put the Christmas gifts today. And those little mushrooms, they are everywhere in the iconography of Christmas. Let me show you a few examples, because when you see Santa on his elves and on all that, you see those mushrooms everywhere. Like this, like this. Why do we have so many mushrooms? Well, some say that in Siberia, people would basically drink reindeer's urine, because the reindeers, they do eat those mushrooms, and they would digest the toxin, and then you can actually drink their urine and get high. So why do you think Santa is flying on a sleigh? You know, is he flying, or are you hallucinating? And Santa is wearing red and white, exactly like the mushroom itself. And that's exactly what the shaman in Siberia used to wear, apparently. And you know, coming through the chimney in Siberia, it wouldn't really be a chimney as such. It would be more like a yurt, you know. But with all the snow, the yurt would be almost fully covered, and yes, absolutely hallucinating, yeah. And that's how the shaman could have come and dropped some magic mushroom. There's a way to dry them, apparently, so you don't get the toxin, but you get the high. So some actually speculate, and they're fairly serious researcher, that the origin of Santa Claus might have been a Siberian shaman delivering those magic mushrooms through the winter times, and you know, why not? We just don't know. It seems a bit far-fetched, but why not? Or maybe the shaman got mixed up with Saint Nicholas and Father Christmas. That might have been a more local magician or shaman or whatever they were. But it's an interesting theory, and I like it. And those mushrooms, you find them everywhere, even in the, you know, in France you don't really have those Christmas cakes, you have the Yule log. Well, whenever you see a Yule log, they always have a few mushrooms around, so you know, why not? And so we are on the famous Trafalgar Square with the tree. So that tree is gifted every year from Norway. So that is to say thank you to Britain. That started in 1947, because through World War II, Britain hosted the Norwegian royal family to protect them. So to say thank you, every year the tree is brought here. Usually the Lord Mayor of Westminster goes up to Norway to cut it. It's usually about 20 meters, and the quality of the tree has been criticized a lot in the last few years, especially last year. This year I didn't really read many feedback, but yeah. And we've got a Hanukkah light at the back, so that's quite cool as well. And you love the Yule logs. Yeah, you know what? I prefer the Yule logs compared to the British Christmas cake. But the Christmas cakes, apparently, originally it was made with meat, a bit like the mince pie. And originally they had a pea on a bin, a dry pea on a dry bin inside. And whoever had the dry bean or the dry pea in their share of the cake would be the king and the queen. And that's very similar to what we do in France with the Epiphany. So when I do a tour in France in 6th of January, I'll show you an Epiphany cake. So that's, you know, Christmas literally used to be 12 days. The Epiphany was the end of Christmas. And talking about the differences, by the way, Boxing Day, I know it's massive here in the UK, you know, it's a bank holiday, and if you work you're being paid double. In France it's a normal day. In France the 24th is a big night. Christmas Eve is mainly Christmas. 25th as well, but 26th is a normal day. And here Boxing Day, we don't know for sure, by the way, why Boxing Day has been called Boxing Day. It's not because the family is a bit hangover and people fight. It has nothing to do with actual boxing. We think it might be because of the servant, because the Victorian families, they would use their servant to to give them food on the 25th. So the servants were working, and the next day they could rest. They could go and see their families, and they might have been given some boxes, gifts, on the 26th. Or it could be because of the charitable boxes that they had at the churches, like some kind of a piggy box. Those boxes might have been broken on the 26th to give that money to the charitable organization. We don't know for sure. Christmas pudding, no, you don't like it either, Sarah? It's not that I don't like it, but I much prefer the logs, the Yule logs. Your sister punched your face on Boxing Day. Well, I suppose she is excused. It is Boxing Day after all. You have Boxing Day in Canada? Yeah. Well, in many countries it is known as the St. Stephen Day, but it's not necessarily a bank holiday. Well, even Christmas was not a bank holiday here until I think it's the 1830s. So really, the Christmas we know today has really taken off in Victorian times. Before that, it was a party, of course, but maybe not with the Christmas tree. I didn't even tell you much about the Christmas tree, by the way. We don't know exactly for sure where it comes from, but we think it might have been because in the 15th century in Central Europe, they used to have an Adam and Eve tree with the apple, decorations. And then the trees, as we know today, started in Germany. A lot of people say that it's Prince Albert, Victoria's husband, that brought it to the UK. That's not actually true. Albert did popularize the tree because they took a photograph that was published in the press, and that was the time of the Industrial Revolution. So those little decorations, they were cheap to manufacture, when before that, yes, Tina, it is Trafalgar Square, yeah. So this is the official centre of London. If you go to Nottingham and you see a sign that says Trafalgar Square, 221 miles from here, it would be calculated from right here. So yeah, Albert did not really bring the tree. It's actually, it's debatable. Some say that it's Queen Caroline, the wife of George II. Some say that it's actually Queen Charlotte, the wife of George III. Apparently, Caroline had a little one, but she didn't really popularize it that much. And let me turn around so you get a good view of the National Gallery. They do a little Christmas market as well here, but I purposely scheduled the tour when the market is closed, because otherwise it might be too busy and we would have lost signal. And there's an interesting little nativity here. Let me show you. A Christmas crib. So that's quite cool. With baby Jesus. So yes, Nick. So that's what we were saying. Yeah, those boxes gifted to the servant, or the boxes from the church gifted to the poor. Yeah. In France, most households would have a little nativity at the bottom of the tree, or at least all the Catholic ones. In mine at home, I had 2 baby Jesus. What happened is they were made with some kind of pottery, and I actually broke one. I broke baby Jesus' arm, so my mum bought a new one, a plastic one, and she wanted to bin the other one, and I did not want to bin baby Jesus because he was disabled. So every year I was putting 2 baby Jesus in the crib, the plastic one and the disabled one, or the amputee. And yes, Nick, that's what we were saying. But as I was saying, it's actually debatable if the name comes from those Boxing Day for the servants, or if it comes from the boxes at church. We still don't know for sure today. Yes, I broke baby Jesus' arm. Anyway, guys, that's gonna be the end of the tour. Let me know if you have any questions before we go, and thank you very much for coming today. Hope you enjoyed the Christmas lights. If you want to see a bit more of Christmas, next week I'll take you to Carnaby Street. So we'll do the tour about the plague, cholera. And the week after, or a few days later, we've got to go to Bow Street anyway for the Monopoly one. So we'll also see the decorations around Covent Garden. You saw UK Boxing Day? Yeah, it's a day off in the UK. Yeah. It's a bank holiday. Cool. Thank you, guys. I don't see any more questions. Let me see. And if you left me a little tip, whether it's on PayPal, buy me a coffee, or even straight on YouTube, thank you very much. It's really helpful. It's the only way we get money, really. So thank you very much. That allows me to spend more time in research and creating new tours. So that really helps. And so the tours for next week are not scheduled yet, but keep an eye on my channel. I'll be doing one more probably next Friday. Laurie is asking which service has the lowest fees. Thank you, Pauline. I would say PayPal. I think it's, well, PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee are about the same, but PayPal is a bit more convenient for me because I've got a PayPal business account, so I can literally spend them straight away. Jack the Ripper tour, not scheduled yet, but yes, I should do it again soon. Yeah, probably in January. Cool. Thank you, Wendy. Yes, Merry Christmas to everyone. I'll probably see you again before that, but if I don't, have a great Christmas. Thank you, Barbara. And if anyone was new to me, hope you'll subscribe and you'll come for some more. Do we have fees? So the fees on PayPal, I think I'm covering them. It depends if you put friends or family, but mine is a business account, so I think I'm covering them. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you've made it live, Pam. Cool. So thank you very much, everyone. I don't see any more questions, so I'm gonna get going. Have a good evening, a good morning, whatever time it is for you, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.